Hello everybody and welcome back to Talkin Dirty with Maestro. I am not Maestro, I'm B-Ron, filling in for the most interesting man in SimWorld. Thank you again, Maestro, for letting me fill in your seat for a little bit while you're away. Hope to have you back soon, my friend. As mentioned on Twitter last week, I decided that, you know what? Everybody else has done some sort of Q&A or send me your question kind of thing. Marsh has his Marsh mailbag thing they used to do for the Marsh pod a bit ago. Coach Joyner did one last week as well. Let me throw my hat in the ring and let you guys in on the man that is B-Ron a little bit as well. I'll be talking about some non-basketball related stuff as well as some SimWorld related stuff as well. So buckle up and we'll get into this. Yeah, let's start with Jimmy Doria. Jimmy Doria asked me for my top 10 anime shows. As everybody knows, I'm a big anime fan. I jokingly call myself the anime god. Very jokingly, of course. Not meant to be a legit thing. It's a bit, I promise. My picks here a little bit all over the place. I'm also going to show my age here with some of the anime that I have picked. Potentially for some of you who might be familiar with some of these. Some of you might not be. But anyway. Top 10 anime shows. My number 10 is Inuyasha. Was one of the first ones that I grew up watching way back when. It was my introduction to anime back in middle school, that kind of thing. My number 9 is Cowboy Bebop. Really love especially just the overall style and vibe of the show, plus the story. The story, while I will stand by the fact that I thought the second half of the story wasn't as great as the first half, I still like it enough to put it up here at my number 9. Madoka Magica, my number 8. I love Madoka Magica. It was one of my first anime that I really got into once I started really watching anime proper. For the longest time, I didn't have a place to watch anime. Because growing up, when I did, you didn't have many options. It was either, you watch it like parts on YouTube, or you watch it when it was on Toonami or something like that. Or like late night Adult Swim on Cartoon Network sort of thing. That was really the only options we had back then. But yeah, Madoka Magica, my number 8. Love that show. The music from this phenomenal. Calafienda became one of my favorite artists because of that anime in particular. So there's that. Erased, number 7. The story for that's fantastic. Really, really enjoy that story. You should definitely check it out if you haven't. Got a bit of like timey-wimey kind of stuff, and I like that bit of it too. So definitely check that out if you're interested. Number 6 here is Fate Stay Night. I saw Fate Zero first, obviously, and then I got into Fate Stay Night. But Fate Stay Night was the one that really got me into the overall like Fate universe in particular. For those unfamiliar with the Fate series, it's basically a battle royale featuring different historical figures. So one, you might have like King Arthur, Joan d'Arc, for example, Gilgamesh as other examples. So it's one of those that I really like in that regard too. But they all take on this battle royale, and they're these, I forget what they're called, but they're summoners, and they bring these, like I said, heroes into the world, and they fight, that kind of thing. Anyway, my number 5 here, if I'm counting right here. 1, 2, 3, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Yes, 5. Number 5. Number 5 here is Konosuba. I also tried to pick anime that were either done or that I like that are still kind of ongoing. Konosuba, I love just how satirical and funny this show is. It never fails to make me laugh hysterically, and any show that could do that as much as Konosuba did was phenomenal for me. So that's why I love it so much. My number 4 is Boku no. Boku no came out in 2003, if my memory serves right. It was it's a mecha anime, and it's really dark subject matter in terms of the cast of characters and what's happening in the show. I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but definitely check out Boku no if you want to feel some things. Vinland Saga is my number 3 here. I really, really love Vinland Saga. It's one of those where it took me a little bit to get into it, but once I really got into it, I was hooked on the idea and just the story of Thorfinn, and I think they're doing a new season of it. So I'm hoping that we continue Thorfinn's story and we continue to see where it goes from where it left off. I'm very intrigued by it. Number 2 is Durarara. This was another one that I really, really enjoy. This is one that I say to people all the time. It has a slow start to it, but once it starts, it doesn't stop until the end of the season. This is one of the anime too that actually kind of got me wanting to try out cosplaying. I haven't got into it proper yet, but it's the first one that really was like, I want to cosplay as a character from the show. So yeah, definitely check out Durarara if you like it. If you're into like the sort of slow burn kind of things, and also trying to piece different parts of things together, definitely check this out as well. And my number 1 here is Ace of the Diamond. Ace of the Diamond is for a baseball anime. I really love it. It's one of those where it takes the realism of baseball, and just puts the anime flair on it. It doesn't do what Kuroko's basketball did, which in my opinion was take basketball players but give them essentially superpowers. It's very grounded take on baseball with your anime flair though. So, and plus it teaches you about the game too in various parts of the show. And the coolest thing to me about the show is that it has references to real life baseball plays that happened in the show in various moments. There's a double play sequence that I can think of offhand that comes to mind. It's really good, and the story of Adrian Salomore and how he gets to be the ace, and just seeing everybody grow as a player on the field, off the field, it's really good. So if you like baseball, if you like sports anime in general, definitely check out Ace of the Diamond. That was that one. So the next question I have here comes from Gio Felice. He wants to know who I have winning The Last Dance this season, and that is the Philadelphia Elite. They've been my pick for the last few years now, and I'm gonna stand by them this coming season as well. I think that they are one of the strongest teams in SimWorld Prep this coming season. They've got a returning Monte Parsons for now, his third and final season in SimWorld Prep. They've got Brandon Gaucher over there. They've got DeVar Schuyler. They've got so many players over there on that team, and they all fit and buy into Dries Williams' scheme and personality and who he kind of wants on his team very well. And I think when you have a lot of guys on your team that fit well like that, I think that makes it easier to play together as a team when you already kind of know what to expect from each other on a personality basis. You feed off each other game in and game out. So that's that one for me. Kai Killens, next question. Kai Killens, he wants to know what my intro to SimWorld Hoops backstory is that put me into where I am today. So I don't remember the exact year of things. It's been so long now, but I met Yells back on a forum called Operation Sports, and that forum does still exist today. But he found me through, I was doing what on the website we call them dynasties. It was basically, write-ups of things you were doing and that kind of stuff, right? So at the time, I was taking one of the wrestling games of WWE 2K. I think it was maybe it was 15 or 16. I can't remember which one it was at the point in time. But I had kind of just got back into wrestling, and I was doing some write-ups for that. I was doing a dynasty with the universe mode in there. I was, writing up feuds and storylines from week to week, writing up promos and telling a story about wrestling and that kind of, like you would see on a weekly show, that kind of thing. So that's how I met Yells. And then from that down the road there, me and Yells ended up working on a smaller version of what SimWorld is now, which was basically a 2K basketball version of Dynasty mode. And like a very smaller scale to what SimWorld is. And it's funny because way back when, Yells was telling me about this idea for SimWorld. And that was when I found, the other guys that were doing the roster editing, with Yells. And Dries was in there too, I believe. Myron was in there. A few other guys who were in there that were all helping to put this rudimentary version of SimWorld together at that point in time. So I got with Yells. I did some journalism writing for the Dynasty that they were doing for 2K at that point in time, and the friendship kind of continued until we got to where SimWorld is today. I was never involved in the proper 2K modding community in particular. I was more so on the other end of things as a gamer, but more so just as a creative, wanting to tell stories within basketball and sports in general. There was one time I remember also doing my own using SimWorld's the league roster, which was a fictional roster that SimWorld also had, in addition to, at the time, the real rosters. I like more of the fictional kind of stuff, so I remember there was a year in 2K where you could rebrand the teams. I can't remember what it may have been. Like, maybe in 2K16, 2K17. I can't remember which one it was, but one of those games, I had taken all the teams, I rebranded all the teams, and I did a whole fictional league with the fictional players from the league roster, and I was doing a dynasty with that as well. And I was doing it from the point of view of a coach, essentially journaling the team's performance throughout the season and that kind of thing. So that was that all kind of got my start into where I am today. I can go a little bit more into that just really quick here. I've been in some sort of broadcasting commentary for the last 10 years, I would say. 10 years, I would say, yeah. So that's also kind of how I, once I found my voice through that, again, it was more so getting in and then getting into YouTube from there. So all of that kind of got me to where I am here today as far as the SimWorld Hoops backstory. It was more so just me starting with the WWE 2K wrestling games with the universe mode write-ups and that kind of thing, and then transitioning that into basketball writing and that's how we're here. Yeah. Hope that answers your question, Kai. Next one comes from Khalik Cunningham. Khalik wants to know, what's the wildest story I've ever had to cover in SimWorld so far? So I think for me, it has to be there are a few, and there's the obvious one you could go to, but I want to go different for this one. I want to talk about the Indie Stripes Drama Saga, because that one was one where it was so fascinating to be a part of that, because it felt like no matter what that team did, they couldn't really get it together. And it's funny because it still kind of has bleeding over effects into what they're dealing with currently now, believe it or not. So the Indie Stripes Drama Saga in particular, there was a whole thing with that. It's been so long now that I can't recall exact events off the top of my head, but I remember a thing with Benari and Barkley James getting involved with the coach at the time, and one brother took the coach's side, one brother took the player's side, and it was a whole, and then the coach ended up leaving the team, and it was a whole mess of things. Those of you who were around know what I'm talking about, so you can jog my memory in that regard, but it was a crazy time, and it extended with the Dax Shirogane thing also being eventually happening, and it ended again. It kept going really, because it ended up bleeding into the Dylan Harper situation that happened a few seasons ago, and then most recently with their last coach CeCe Lytle, who ended up leaving the team during the blackout that SimWorld had, the brief stoppage we had maybe about a month or so ago now. So they just can't seem to find a way to get it together and get some stability over there. We thought that Lytle was going to be the answer for the stability, but hasn't happened, unfortunately. So they're still in that spot where they're still trying to find stability. A mass exit of players too also doesn't help. But Cam Jones, next question. Cam Jones, he wants to know, if I were a SimWorld player, or would I choose to play? Run DMV. I'm from the Maryland area. So one that makes sense for me to stay in state to do. And also I feel like if I were 15, 16, 17 years old, my parents probably wouldn't want me moving across the country somewhere to play basketball. I'm not going to play with the Scorchers in Arizona. I'm not going to go play for Bay Area Breakers Bay Area Breakers basketball. I'm not doing it. My parents would say, no, you're gonna probably stay home because you're close enough. We can come see your games, that kind of thing. And as a kid, I would want my parents to have the ability to come see me play. So Run DMV would be the answer, just purely from a proximity to home kind of deal. So yeah. Jordan Scott, he wants to know if I could if I could cover another sport besides basketball, what would it be? Baseball. Here's why. Baseball was my first love, still is. I grew up playing baseball, played varsity in high school. Didn't end up playing in college, but that's for other reasons. But baseball was my first love, and I have baseball commentary experience. That's where my background really comes in as far as commentary goes. I was calling baseball games for a community college in my area here. I'd like to get back into that eventually too, but right now time hasn't permitted me to do that like I would like it to. But maybe one day I can get back to that as well. So baseball would definitely be the other sport that I would cover besides basketball, because like I said, baseball is my first love. I like basketball, I do, but baseball is a sport that I'm the most knowledgeable about, and I can talk the most about with whoever it is, depending on the situation, of course. So Jordan Scott, baseball is my answer to your question. Joaquin Dominguez, he wants to know if I could take a trip anywhere in the world, where would I go? It would be to Japan. And yes, part of it's for the reason you think. The other part of it is not, I promise you. So in addition to me, loving baseball, wanting to go see a game at Koshin Stadium, wanting to go to Akihabara and be in the city and all that stuff, I'm also just I'm really fascinated by the culture and history of Japan in general. So I would also love to go for that reason as well, to experience the culture and learn more about the history of the country by being there, going to see some of the, older places and all that kind of stuff. That kind of thing is fascinating to me as well. So if I could go anywhere, to be Japan for those reasons that I mentioned there alone. And the final question I have for today comes from Cole Collins. Cole wants to know who my top 3 potential matchups are in SimWorld Prep this season, because the schedule will be releasing this coming Friday. So this one is, it's not tough, but it's one that I had a little bit of thinking about. So my top 3 matchups that I'd like to see, the Yacht Club versus the Philadelphia Elite. There was a lot of talk between the two teams a few months ago. It's kind of died down, but I imagine that once we get to a schedule point in time, we'll see what that schedule looks like, and that talk will ramp up again, I could imagine. So that's one of those games here on my list for sure. The next one is Best Coast Ballers versus Bay Area Breakers. They met in the Last Dance title game the last season. I would like to see those teams go at it again, especially because Bay Area Breakers now have a new coach with Brody Knight coming in. Best Coast Ballers still have Janino Dominguez over there, so I do want to see that game from a new versus old perspective, but also from the perspective of this is a championship rematch from the last season, so that's why there. And then my last one here is Lone Star Basketball Club versus the Scorchers. It's for the simple fact of it's the Daniel Irvin revenge game. Yes, I know he left on good terms and that kind of thing, but I also remember there were some things that came out a little bit after he left about some of the players not being too happy with the way he left or how he was handling himself. I don't remember exact quotes and things from that time frame, so we'll have to go grab the receipts for that. But the Daniel Irvin revenge game storyline is particularly the one that has the most attention for me in that storyline for that game in particular. So those are my 3 games. Those are all the questions I had time for on this episode of Talkin Durty. I may do more of these for this Saturday for Dirty Shorts. We'll see. I haven't decided yet what the plan is for that. But anyway, thank you all for watching and listening. I appreciate you all. Remember, as always, you guys, what does Maestro say around here? Never let Jason borrow your car.